Hey guys, it's Dakota. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk about the live-action Snow White. Specifically, how they are girl bossing a little too close to the sun. And if you don't know what that's in reference to, it's the Greek story about Icarus and the sun, where him and his father were trapped, so his dad made golden wings, and they were gonna fly out, and if they flew too close to the sun, the wax would melt, and if they flew too close to the ocean, the feathers would unstick or something. I'm not exactly sure. But Icarus was so excited to be free that he ended up flying too close to the sun, the wax melted, his wings fell off, and he plummeted into the ocean and died. But that's exactly what's happening to Disney. Their girl bossing attempts is causing them to fail, specifically in their live actions. So to know how Disney is failing with the live action Snow White, we have to look at the original Snow White. The marketing in 2024 is basically making it out that the entire Snow White and the Seven Dwarves movie is about Snow White's looks and how she's saved by a prince. But it's just not true. I don't know if these people never graduated past a third grade literary level, but there's so much more to the story than just she dies and is kissed awake by a prince. In the original Snow White, the evil queen is very vain and feels that she's threatened politically by Snow White's looks, because of course, that's the only thing that matters. But in truth, Snow White is a threat to her politically because she's so kind and caring to the people of the village, or the kingdom, I guess. The huntsman literally doesn't kill her because he's like, wow, this girl's really nice. And then when she escapes, all the animals help her because she was so kind to them as well. So the animals lead Snow White to the dwarves' house because she needs safety, and they also know that the dwarves need kindness. And when she gets there, she actually doesn't realize that it's a dwarf's house, and she thinks that children live there and that their house is so messy because they don't have a mother to take care of them. So because she is so kind, she decides to clean the entire house, even though she doesn't even know if these kids are gonna let her stay. She and the animals clean the house because they know that nobody should have to live like that, not just because they were trying to convince the dwarves to let her stay. That's why it makes no sense that in the trailer the dwarves are the ones cleaning the house, because they literally were not there. It has nothing to do with gender roles, they just were not there. And when Snow White realizes that the house is owned by the dwarves, she still treats them with kindness even though society has kind of ousted them, and that's why they're living in the woods by themselves. They do not have a worker dynamic, they actually become friends, and that is so important. The dwarves are so important to the story. And not just because they help Snow White, but because the dwarves literally drive the entire plot after Snow White's death. She helped them realize that they don't have to hide out in the woods and that they do have value as people, and in turn, Snow White becomes their martyr. When the dwarves realize that Snow White is dead and that the evil queen was the cause of this, they revolt and actually kill the queen because they know that no one should be subject to that. That is the political power of Snow White. Her kindness brings people together and makes them want to create a better world. And this is so important today because we have so many politicians that are out here who base their campaigns off of them being girl bosses, when all the American people really want is someone that genuinely cares about them. But girl bossing Snow White and making her hyper independent changes the entire structure of the movie. That's why the live action is just called Snow White instead of Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, because the dwarves are probably not going to have that big of a role in favor of making Snow White a stronger heroine. Now, I partially blame Peter Dinklage and the fact that he has obviously not watched the movie in a very long time. And I can't tell someone what to be offended or not to be offended by, but when you're offended by something that's just straight up wrong, people are gonna disagree with you. He says that the dwarves live in a cave. They don't live in a cave. It's actually kind of very important that they live in a house. They just happen to work in a cave. And they work in a cave because they are undervalued by society. They even each have their own personality that is acknowledged both by the animation and by Snow White. When Disney could have just made them like one unit as a whole, they didn't. So, because Dinklage said that the dwarf storyline needed a progressive makeover, Disney, in turn, took out actual actors with dwarfism and most likely greatly reduced the importance of the dwarves in the movie. I can't make this shit up. Instead of casting actual people and just developing the dwarves' personalities more so that people see them as less magical and more like real people, they swung in the complete opposite direction and made CGI dwarves. Disney is indirectly saying that these dwarves are not people and that they're the same as the birds and the deer. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like this is the opposite of progressive. Not to mention the rumors that originally in the live action movie, the 7 dwarves were replaced by the 7 misfits. I think it came out recently that supposedly they were part of like Jonathan's crew and Jonathan like replaced the prince. I'm just as lost as everybody else, I gotta be honest. But I'm just curious to see if this guy meets these guys. And the CGI sets and animals just look terrible too. I'm probably not gonna watch the Daily Wire's version of Snow White, but when I watch the trailer and you see actual animals in it, it's sad how excited I was to see that. I said in my video, Disney, your diversity band-aid is not gonna save your trash movie, that I thought that leaked pictures of Snow White looked like Space Jam, and I take that back. Space Jam is a masterpiece combination of live action and animation, whereas Snow White is an uncanny valley horror story. I think a live action Snow White would have been so much better if it was just a TV special or something that wasn't released in theaters, with drawn animation of the birds and other animals, like with Mary Poppins and old movies. Now, the casting of Rachel Zegler. I do think that people focus a little too much on the Latina aspect, because a lot of Latinas are very pale. They could be white as snow, take Anya Taylor-Joy, but a lot of people are also saying if they wanted to go the diversity route, they could have cast someone of East Asian descent, because a lot of times they are very pale with very dark hair. You know, I don't really think that her skin color is going to make or break the movie, but there's a lot other things about Rachel Zegler. I actually have come out and defended Rachel Zegler a few different times because, surprise, you can actually agree with someone on one thing and disagree with them on something else. Shocker. But I honestly don't really care about the things that Rachel said. Was it disrespectful? Yes. Should she have said them? No. But it doesn't change the fact that she's just an actress and her job is to play a character. Her personal feelings should really have no effect on the movie. But the things that she has said are signs that the movie is going to be bad. Even if she loved the original Snow White, she would either have to directly or indirectly put the movie down because the live action is substantially different. I even think that the whole "it's no longer 1937" line might have been directly fed to her by producers because she said it multiple times in very similar ways. But when it comes to Rachel's actual talent, initially I thought she would be incredible singing Snow White because she can have that really light, airy soprano voice. But from the trailer, it doesn't seem like she's using it. It appears that her voice is very strong and theatrical, which is very different than the original Snow White. And most likely the director told her to project her voice to make Snow White seem more powerful. I think Rachel Zegler was very good singing as Lucy Gray Baird in The Hunger Games, and I have no doubt that she'll be incredible on Broadway, but that doesn't change the fact that Broadway singing and Snow White singing should be fundamentally different. And I hate to say it because I'm not an actress, and if you threw me in a movie, I would probably be terrible. But Rachel Zegler is not the best actress. Like, she's not a bad actress, she'll get the job done, but I personally think that she belongs acting theatrically on stage because that is where she shines, rather than on a movie set. The costume is also being ripped to shreds. A lot of people are comparing Snow White's dress to the live-action Cinderella dress, and they're noticing how cheap and just bad it looks. They're saying that it looks like a Spirit Halloween costume, and I want you to think about that for a second. Why would Disney want to design a live-action dress that resembles a cheap costume? Because they want to sell cheap costumes. It's very difficult to sell a Halloween dress that looks like this. Likewise, it's very difficult to play with a doll that's in a dress like this. Whereas with the Snow White dress, they can replicate that perfectly. Because they didn't make this movie to honor the original. They made this movie because they want to make quick cash. Seems like it's not going to work that way. but that's what they're trying to do. And the haircut, I have no idea why they did that to Rachel Zegler. I think that she's very pretty. I don't know why people are going around saying that she's not, but the hairstylist apparently hated her. Like, Rachel looks cute with just like an extra couple inches, and here people keep saying that she looks like Lord Farquaad. And it's not curled or styled either. It's just like, what is that page boy? Little lad? It's bad. And of course, people are comparing the costumes to cosplayers and the Disney park actresses, where they look wonderful. But yeah, the $400 million Disney movie, of course, you know, you gotta expect the costume to just look like ass. People are also kind of criticizing the casting of Gal Gadot, mostly because they think that she's prettier than Rachel Zegler. I also think that she's kind of a rough actress, and I don't know if that's just the accent, or if it's her, or if it's a combination of both, but I feel like the acting in this movie is not gonna pull through too well. But, you know, we'll have to see. I could be proven wrong. And then, of course, you have the additional people boycotting the movie because Rachel Zegler is pro-Palestine, and then you also have people boycotting the movie because Gal Gadot is from Israel. So this movie is quite literally being attacked on every side. Long story short, the movie's gonna be bad, and it's probably gonna lose a ton of money. When the movie inevitably flops, every YouTube thumbnail is probably gonna have a picture of Rachel Zegler. And I'm telling you right now, do not let Rachel Zegler take the fall for Disney making a terrible movie. You don't have to like her, but she's just the actress. It's Disney's fault that all this stuff is happening. And trust me when I say that they will have no problem letting her take the heat for all of it. But that's it for today, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, have a great rest of your day.